Janet Morana, Executive Director of Priest for Life. Welcome to our program. Well, it's November. It's National Adoption Awareness Month. And I'm really excited about this month because, in the pro-life movement, one of the things we do promote is adoption. Rather than women aborting their babies, have a loving heart and place it for adoption. So adoption awareness is really near to my heart. And also in it, the whole month, there's also a special day. It's November 23rd, which is Adoption Day, Awareness Day. And what they do on that day is they celebrate all the adoptions that are going to be happening. A lot of communities have events, and they bring together the families, and they do a lot of the legal signing right at that event. So with National Adoption Awareness Month, I thought it'd be very interesting. Very often we interview mothers who have adopted and dads and parents, but what about the siblings? A lot of families, everyone thinks people adopt who have no children, but a lot of adoptions happen in families that already have their own children, and they decide to open their hearts for more. Well, joining me today is a sibling that was in that situation. Her name is Mary Kerrigan. Mary, welcome to the program.
Thank you so much, Janet. Thank you so much.
Well, your mom and dad, before your adoptive sisters, plural, came to your family, tell us at the time the discussion first came up, how old, what were the names of your family, the children, and their ages?
Right. There were four of us. I'm the second of four. So it's my older sister, Catherine, who would have been about 9, me, who's a couple of years younger than her, and I would have been about, at the time of the discussions, about 7. My brother, Sean, would have been about 5, and my brother, Kevin, would have been about 4. So that's when we began the discussions. And when we finally got Teresa and Sarah, our adopted sisters, we would have been a few years older than that.
Right. So, when you think about that, now that seemed like a pretty full plate for your mom and dad already. 4 children, ages range 4 to 9. That's a full house to me.
It was a full house, yes.
And I mean, I happen to know you, so your family. I've been to your home when it was out in California. So how big of a house was this? How many bedrooms?
It was a pretty small house. We had 4 bedrooms. So quarters were tight even before we added 2 more to it. We were on a 1-income family. My dad was a lawyer. My mother was a lawyer as well, but she gave it up to become a stay-at-home mother. So it was just a single income family, and there were 4 children in a 4-bedroom house.
So who shared what
So
bedroom?
Fortunately from everyone, God's providence, because there were 2 girls and 2 boys, and then later 2 girls, we all shared rooms. So the 2 oldest girls, the 2 middle boys, and the 2 youngest girls shared bedrooms.
Oh, wow.
So it worked out. Otherwise, we're not sure what it would have
done. Happened. But before they came, who shared a bedroom?
We still shared the same bedrooms.
Really?
It was my sister and I shared a bedroom because we were only a year and a half apart, and my brothers shared a bedroom because they're about 2 years apart. And that always worked. And we actually all shared bedrooms until we were, even in college, when we were going to community college, we always shared.
So now when your mom and dad first, I guess, were thinking about adopting, how did this topic first came up for you kids?
We were on our way to Mass. We were going to Santa Margarita, a very small community parish. And my dad brought it up. He said, "Hey guys, your mom and I were just thinking, how would you feel about if we adopted?" And I remember it very clearly because I remember being so excited. I was thrilled. All of us were, but in my experience, I was absolutely thrilled. And from there, it was a 2-year process, as I mentioned. But that was the first, the germ where it started.
So why were you so excited? When you think about this, you already have an older sister, 2 younger brothers, and now you're excited about another kid landing.
It was exciting. I loved babies. By the time we got Teresa and Sarah, I was 9. And it was just, we had two babies, they're like baby dolls. It was great. There was never a moment where we weren't excited.
Right. So Mary, I know you went from adopting 1 to your parents then adopted 2. Tell us how that dynamic happened.
Right. When we first started the process, my parents had planned on adopting an infant baby girl from China because they have a lot of infant baby girls that need to be adopted. Unfortunately, that agency closed down, so we were shuffled to a different agency. At one point, we were going to be adopting from Kazakhstan, but again, something happened. I was 9, so I'm not sure in the details, but we were shuffled to a different agency. So we were shuffled from multiple agencies, and by the time we ended with an agency that worked, we were in Belarus. So they, after the 2 years finally ended, they sent us a packet with Teresa, my little sister, daughter number 5, with her picture. And they said, this is going to be your baby. Will you accept? And my parents opened it with us there, and we were all in the room, and yay, we have a new baby sister. Her name is, we're going to name her Teresa. And it was incredible.
And how old was Teresa when you?
She would have been 2, almost 3. So she's little, and she was tiny. She was little, tiny, little girl.
Okay, so you said
yes. So they sent us the first packet,
and you said yes to
and
Teresa.
We said yes. A few weeks later, it wasn't long at all, they sent us a second packet, and we're still not clear why they did that. They don't typically send a second option, but they said, do you want this baby as well, or instead of Teresa? And at that point, what a question to ask. We wanted both, and the kids wanted both. I remember us begging mom and dad, well, can we get both? We want both. Poor mom and dad. But they were, so yes, we ended up with 2. It was just God's providence, I think, a meant to be situation.
And how old was Sarah?
Sarah was 1.
Oh, so she was
turning
younger.
2. She was younger than Teresa.
So about a year younger than Teresa.
Correct. So they were from the same orphanage, but they were not sisters at the time. They're not blood related.
I see.
But about a year
So,
apart.
okay, so now you said yes to 2.
Yes.
What a shuffle there must have been at the house there, because now, where are we going to put these kids, right?
Yeah.
So I guess you and Catherine had to suddenly.
Yes, Catherine and I shared a room. Sean and Kevin shared a room, and now Teresa and Sarah, we put them in the last room. So we were packed. And you remember our house, Janet?
Yes.
Our rooms were closets. It was tight living space.
Yeah,
but
it really was.
It was, yeah.
So what was day 1 like? Talk about the day. What your parents had to what? They had to go over to the country.
They did, yes.
It's over by Russia, right?
Correct. It's part of the
Soviet Union when they broke up and all that.
Correct.
So they had to go all the way there. So who stayed with the 4 of you?
My uncle, my dad's brother, came and watched us for, it was about a week and a half that they went over there. They went to Belarus in February, and they have all kinds of stories about how cold and how difficult the life in Belarus is. But we were with our uncle in California. Our uncles in California. Waiting.
Okay, so the day comes, the plane lands, they come home.
I got home, it was midnight. It was really late. We all stayed up. We watched movies all night. We knew mommy and daddy and the girls were coming home that night. So we waited all night. I remember all of us sitting around the door. They're home, and we could see the car lights coming, and we could see them getting the girls out of the car, and they opened the door, and there's mom and dad and the 2 little Russians. And I just remember scooping up Sarah, and the first time I held her.
Wow. And of course, they didn't speak not one word of English.
Not one word.
How did that, as kids, how did you function like with these kids? They're speaking Russian, you don't know Russian, and how did it work?
Right. Well, Sarah was young enough. The youngest, as I said, she was 1 turning 2. So the transition was slightly easier for her. She just picked up English, and she doesn't remember any Russian. Teresa was 2 turning 3, and she could speak Russian, and she did not like us at first. And this is actually another good reason to adopt if you have children. Teresa wouldn't speak to my parents. She was very angry for the first couple months. She wouldn't speak to my parents. She wouldn't speak to us. The only person that she would communicate with in her little broken Russian was my sister, Catherine. Thank God for Catherine, because they were able to communicate. Otherwise, Teresa just shut down for the first couple weeks. And again, that was only for the first couple weeks. And after that, she really, truly integrated into the family. But thank God for Catherine.
Wow. So, now, of course, you're all adults, right?
Yes.
You're living in Florida. I think Teresa, she just joined the Marines.
She did, yes.
I remember talking to her saying, Teresa, come on, Coast Guard,
Navy. I know.
She goes, no, I want to be a Marine. I want the most difficult challenge. And she's doing good, right?
She's doing great.
She's in training.
Yes.
And then Sarah, of course, has a job, and she's
working at a resort in
Texas. Yes, they're both amazing, beautiful girls.
Yes.
And it's like, to me, they were always just part of your family. And if
Absolutely.
someone didn't know they were adopted, they wouldn't have a clue.
No.
Because they just
Mhm.
kind of meshed in with the
Absolutely.
family, right?
Yeah.
Well, so many people I think out there look at adoption like, oh, is that something, we should do? And most people think of, like I said at the beginning, that people adopt when they can't have children.
Correct.
But your parents are not unique. I know quite a few other people who already had a family, had kids, were doing okay, but decided to open up their hearts and adopt. So this is National Adoption Awareness. So from a sibling now,
Yes.
if you were to say something, what would be the positive experiences or anything you could say to encourage other people to consider adoption?
I would say that if it is in your heart if the Holy Spirit is speaking to you and you feel it in your heart that it's something that you are open to, I highly encourage it. It was a huge blessing to our family, nothing but blessing. Any negative that you might conceive could happen, the blessings far, far outweighed them. Our family,
Right.
we are very bonded. We're all very close.
Yes.
And my parents, from their perspective, which they told me as an adult, they said that part of the reason they wanted to adopt, although they already had 4 children, was that they wanted to say as a thank you for blessings that they had received. So they had a beautiful family of 4 healthy children, a beautiful home in California, and they knew that they were able to give just a little bit more as a thank you for blessings received.
That's great.
It was beautiful.
Well, thank you for joining me,
Thank you,
Mary.
Janet.
And
Thank
of
you.
course, I think a fabulous story. Well, brothers and sisters, I hope you heard about adoption today from another angle. A kid who suddenly had 2 sisters thrust upon the family. As you see, it's a positive experience. It's a wonderful experience. This is National Adoption Awareness Month. Maybe God's calling on you to consider adoption. Maybe so. Anyway, this is Janet Morana, Executive Director of Priest for Life. Thank you, and God bless.
Hi, Janet Morana here. And you know what? When Christmas comes, sometimes people have lost a grandparent or a parent. And for children, it's difficult to say, like, where are they? This brand new book by Anthony DeStefano, Christmas in Heaven, is awesome. It is a grandfather telling his grandson where grandma is. And you know what? It takes a special focus on saints. There are 25 saints that are highlighted in this beautiful story, and all the saints are doing different things up in heaven. And you know what? November 1st is All Saints Day. Maybe you'd like to get a copy of this book early. Go to the link, order it today. Christmas in Heaven by Anthony DeStefano. You're going to love it.
Hello, I'm Evangelist Alveda King. Our team at Priest for Life produces many books, pamphlets, audio and video presentations, and other resources to help you protect the unborn. I invite you today to visit our online store at prolifeproducts.org and see the many helpful resources you can get for yourself, your pro-life group, and your church. God bless you.